But here we are, not at the bench, we're out at the sink. You can see the sink. I set up a new type of shooting environment out here. I'm working on it anyway, so I wanted to do a trial run, see how it goes. And let me get the penguins out of the way here. They don't really like the sink for the most part. They do like the water, they like to swim. This one actually took a dive into my little water container a little while ago. Kind of frightening because, you know, they don't really swim, they could just drown. Anyway, so like this is my Shatton 1.5K. All right, I got this out. And why am I here? All right, so yes, we're back to talk a little bit about the rolls, mostly the blade, handle, sharpening, and stropping. A couple of things I don't think I gave enough weight to in the last one, and then I did some more content reading on the internet, and I felt there were some things to go over. So, on the first thing, you know, this is the handle, right? I watched, I don't know what if it was a video, if I read about it, guy was talking about it, and he made a big deal about the handles, and there is concern here, but I think he went overboard, and I think he gave misinformation. These will often come rusty or corroded, you know, and while that's not great, it's not a reason to, like, if you see a rolls for $5 and there's a little bit of, like, see a little tiny patch of rust, like right there, that's no reason to not get it. You know, it's not going to give you diseases, okay? If you ever seen a vintage Wade and Butcher wedge, they have like an inch of rust on them. You don't blow them off if they're like $50 because you can just like get rid of it. So this had rust on it all the way up and down, and I sanded it off, and then I took a file and I dressed the top down and got the little dome of rust off of that, and it works fine. So that's something to know. It's a two-part thing. Yeah, certainly if you are looking on, like, you know, an auction site and someone is selling one, you could ask them to open up the handle and take a look and see like what's there. But, you know, so far in this little project, I think you need to buy like 4 or 5 of these things to get like enough parts where the system is like kind of working. Okay, because, you know, I find the system really lacking. All right, so there's that. The blade is my main reason for interest in the rolls. Okay, yeah, the kludgy part, the Rube Goldberg thing, all of that is like really dope. It's really very interesting to me, right? These do come off. On the older ones, they're a little stiffer. So you need a little bit more effort to get it off, and you have to be careful because the blade's right there, and even if it's dull, it's still sharp. It will cut you. It will hurt you bad. So be careful with these, right? But the reason I like the rolls is because you can resharpen it, all right? And it's Sheffield steel. And thus far, I think maybe it's a little tiny softer. You know, very small sample size. I've been through like 5 or 6 blades. But I think overall the steel is a little tiny, like weensy, teensy bit softer than, like, say, a Wade and Butcher from, like, you know, post 1890. But they sharpen easy. They hold their edge well. It's not soft like it's going to, like, need a sharpening every 5 shaves. It's not like that. But I can resharpen it. I'm not throwing out blades. I don't have to deal with double-edged blades. Okay, yes, it's a safety razor like form factor, you know, in a way. Let me get this open. Can I do this on camera, Keith? And so we all like straights, but it's like a piece out of a straight razor on a handle, emulating like a safety razor thing. But what this is great for is that chin strap area under the neck, where if you have a 3-inch, 3.5-inch blade, it becomes very hard. You have to do scything motions and back and forth, and getting the baby S down there, you know, the baby butt smooth shave that we go for, can sometimes be a little more work than we like. And while I love the challenge, it's always been interesting to me that, like, say, a Camisari would be a little easier. This is like a Camisari, but with a stick handle, and this is actually easier to maneuver in that area. So that's like one of my main reasons. You know, the other part is like, you know, the blades are like $10-15, and, you know, you can shave with this for the rest of your life. So can't beat that with an ugly stick. All right, so I got a little bit about this. The guard may bend. You can tap it down gently. If you get a jacked up blade, it's not uncommon for the little stud pins to pop out on you. So you have to be careful with that. Anyway, so, the sharpening and the stropping to me is like the issue, okay? Because, all right, if I take this off, all right, here's a strop. I replaced the leather. I showed you this last time. And I touch base on this. But, okay, if you're stropping in the case, your blade is traveling 2 inches on the leather, right? Now, let's say you did 50 laps on, a 15-inch piece of leather, right? Your total inches there, your stropping inches is like 750. And that means you have to do like 375 in this box. Let me tell you, you do that once and you're like, I'm not doing this anymore, okay? And the same thing with the hone on the other side. Now, sometimes it's a pain in the butt. This is the one I showed you I had cut the G10 for, and I'm still thinking about maybe, futzing with some lapping film, but I'm not really into lapping film. And I like the idea because it would work and it's fairly inexpensive and so on and so forth. I can use it dry, it's not an issue. But still, it's lapping film, and it doesn't really jive with the aesthetic of this thing. So what I did was I made a hone. Yeah, I made this. All right, so I made this, and it's almost ready to go. In making the hone, I learned a lot about the geometry of this thing, and I still have to deck this by like a half a millimeter, 3/4 of a millimeter to get everything to work, because the geometry of the case is what it is. There's a slop factor, there's wiggle room, but I'm outside the wiggle room here. I got to drop this down, so when the blade is on it, the edge is actually on the stone at the same time the spine is. So anyway, so I did that, but in doing all this, I went over it. It's still the same, like 2 inches of travel. So like, let's say, for example, you got one of these and you have to set the bevel, all right? So have you ever set the bevel on a straight razor? How many passes on your bevel setter did you do? Okay, I know somebody once said it's like 40 passes. I don't know where that razor came from, because I've never seen a bevel set in 40 passes. But let's just say it was 50 laps. That's 300 inches of travel. If you have an 8-inch stone, you're working on 6 inches, okay? The front and back 1 inch, you don't really use that, but maybe you do. But I'm conservative here, all right? So if the blade is actually traveling 6 inches, okay, on this, and you do 50 laps, that's literally 300 inches, okay? That means you need 150 inside the rolls. Now, that sucks too. And the fact of the matter is, it's not really going to work, because the rolls hone is like 5K. I don't know about you, I don't set bevels on 5K. Now, you can if the bevel was already set, but when you're coming into a blade, and this is a huge point for me, there are posts out there where guys bought these things and they say, oh yeah, I honed it in the case and I hit the strop and boom, it's great. I shaved my neck, it feels great. I don't know what freaking universe these people are living in. These blades are like from the 30s. One of these is from like 1932. It's been sitting dormant for at least like 60 years. Are you seriously trying to get me to believe that you got a blade that's been untended, uncared for, it's pitted, it's rusted, it's corroded, it's dull as hell, and you hit it on a 5K hone like what, 10 times, and now you're shaving? People, they talk out their ass, man. It just doesn't happen. It's not reality. Or maybe they got one that was already honed and that's what's going on. But no, seriously, if you buy one of these for $5, plan on work, okay? Because my experience is these all need to be seriously honed. So that's kind of like why I'm here. I made these. You saw in my last video and on my website, I was working with the handle portion, okay? And I was using that to hone with, and like that was great. But I'll be honest, I didn't like it. Kind of annoyed me. So I had a brainstorm and I made these up. Now, basically what this right here is the central portion of the handle in the rolls case. You can see in here, you got the brass section, that I took out of that handle, that wire loop handle thing. All right, and this is the friction clip assembly with the point, the attachment point. So I disassemble the handle, whatever. I cut one leg off, right, to trim it down, otherwise it sticks out. The other leg sticks in here. I drill through, I pin, I shove epoxy in from behind. The epoxy sets around the pin. This is 1/16 inch brass rod that I use for like doing razors. So there's a ton of that here. So that's in. Epoxy goes around everything, so it's holding everything in place. This will not spin, okay? So I made this. I had this idea that I could do this and it might work for honing and possibly stropping. Something to know is that there are two, I didn't know this until I did this. These are different assemblies. This is an older one. If you look closely, it's one piece. The tabs for holding the blade in place are punched right out of this sleeve. So this is the one from like 1932, right? It was an Imperial 2 case. This is from a Viscount later, where the ears are a replaceable secondary sleeve clip that goes over the main part. The important part here that I know this now, these both work for honing, I haven't had any problems, but this one is totally smooth where this one has an ear. So I'm concerned about whether or not this little tab that's right here could possibly throw off my honing or whatever. Now, I've honed with it a bunch of times and I haven't had an issue. But this obviously is going to be foolproof. All right. So I'm going to look for more of these. These work fine. But my OCD, Vulcan brain is like, oh, this is better. And, if you get Rolls kits for like $5, it's just part of the deal. I just keep getting rid of the banged up parts and keeping the stuff I want to use. This is aluminum rod. It's 6061 T6 rod, 15/16 on the outside. I forget how big the hole is, but it's big enough to accommodate the end stud on the brass, that mandrel. And this pops all back on afterwards after you reassemble, and you have yourself a nice little handle. So I'll show you. But right, goes on here. Boom. All right, it's awesome. So, took that, turn a little water here. Now, this gizmo that I got set up here, this piece of granite, all right, this is my sink bridge. I got this is a side splash, like people do custom granite work on bathrooms. This is a side splash piece, so it's like 4 inches wide. They come like 20 inches long. I got this piece delivered for $10 because the end was crashed. The guy didn't know why I wanted it, but I was like, I only needed this piece. I only needed the part that was broken, I cut it off, basically, is what it was. I don't know if you can see it. You can't see it, actually. There's a dam I built to stop the water from... Here, let me show you. See that little thing? Built that up so the water doesn't continue into my fixture. It's angled. These guys here, this is polished. I need to dress this down. Everything like slips all over the freaking place. But these are my old, who makes these? Sahario, I think, right? They're like rubber, and they're for supporting stones, and a lot of people really like them, and I guess they're like kind of okay and all. I don't really enjoy them all that much because they don't have anything in the center for the stone, and I do a lot of heavy pressure work when I'm at the sink. I really, I like them. I'm not bashing them. I'm just saying I wish there was a piece for the center, okay? It's probably not important, but I do lean. If I'm redoing geometry on like an 8-inch chef knife, I'm leaning on this thing, all right? So that's that. Anyway, here we are. We got this wet, and this is just to show you. I'm going to actually hone this for real, but I'm just going to show you the passes. This is already honed. It's already shaving. I shaved with it last night. I got a great shave from it. It's these are great blades. I think they're very worth checking into. So there's that. So anyway, so here we are. Blades on the stone. Spine is on the stone. There's enough slop factor in this assembly to allow the spine to sit down. And if you have the Glassstone 7s, you can do these blades on them. It's pretty cool. And do X patterns without ever even coming off the stone. And you can see my undercut is pretty good. If I want to do a little leading, I can do a little leading stroke. I mean, I didn't have to do this, but well, I wanted to do the video, so I needed a subject to hone, and I didn't want to go through a whole bevel set with you because it would be here forever. These blades come jacked, okay? They have not been touched since, literally, since the 60s, the 70s at the outside, but chances you get one of them is slim and none. Probably everything you touch is going to be, it's been in a box, in a drawer, in a garage, near an ocean since like 1940, okay? The bevel set requires hefty work, in my opinion. Right? It is not a wham bam, thank you, ma'am, we're done type of thing. A lot of crappy steel has to be cut off. If the blade was used a lot on the the original hone in the case, those hones did horrible things to these blades. They had rogue particles that were very coarse. They cut horrible rogue scratches. Very deep gouges. They met at the edge in a number of places. They created chipping, bad chipping, macro chipping, micro chipping. Just, it took me, this blade here, I don't want to tell you how many times I had to go at it. I kept winding up with failure up in one part, and I couldn't see it until I put it on a scope. And once I got it up there, I was like, oh my God, look at this. So I had to really go at it. So now it's in a great place. You know, shaves well, holds the edge. So, you know, if you're looking at a video or you're reading a blog post where somebody said, oh, yeah, I just bought it, went to town shaving with it, take that with a grain of salt. You don't know what the conditions of his blade was or the accuracy of what his statements are all about. Sometimes people just say stuff and they don't realize that their statements have a lot of impact on people. And then, you know, the unknowing guy goes out, buys one of these things, spends 20, 30, 40, 50 bucks because he wants to splurge on one that has, like, you know, all the literature and a really cool box and this and that, maybe extra blades. And then he gets it home and he can't shave with it. So that's the purpose of me doing this. I think the blades are cool. I want to shed some accurate light on this. I believe in the truth. And like one of my things when I started shaving, like, you know, this wet shaving thing, getting involved in forums and stuff, was all the bullshit that people just spew so they can look and sound good and, you know, garner likes and get views and, you know, create a channel where they get like free shit sent to them to test. That's all well and good as long as you're on point. But if you're just talking shit out your asshole, you're hurting people, man. You're hurting people. You're frustrating people. You wind up turning people off this hobby. So, I may seem a little harsh at times, and that's fine. Sometimes truth hurts, man. Just the way it goes. Like that guy who got all pissed off at my shopping for razors on eBay video. Still don't know who that was. It could have been the anti-Semitic jackass I punted from my channel, or it could have been somebody who was actually had stuff for sale in the video. But if you're selling rusty stuff, it's rusty stuff. Stop telling people it's great or it only needs a light polish. There are plenty of sellers out there who they sell stuff that's in need of restoration, and they tell you exactly what it is and what it takes to get it done. Find those people, go for it. So you notice I don't have a lot of swarf here. I have a bunch, but it's not like, you know, pitch black. That's because the bevel is already set on this, and I'm just basically doing a bevel refresh. I'm going to take it further than I need to. A couple of things about this handle. This sleeve assembly right here is popped on in place. It's held by tension. I have not fixed it into place, so it will rotate. If I push this down and I try and rotate the handle, it will spin. But so far I haven't had to do that, and I don't want to do it so I can keep pulling them off and you know, kind of cleaning them up and moving them around. If I fix it in place with glue, then that's it, it's permanent. I could do that, but I don't think I need to. Oddly, the amount of pressure needed to set a bevel correctly on this thing is handled easily by that clip. So I've been fortunate with that. If you want to know how to do this, you know, make this handle thing, the pictures are on my website. Now, don't watch this video and then go do that. Okay, this isn't for everybody. It's a lot of trouble and it's a lot of grief. And the first thing I think you should do is get a blade and like send it to Nelson. Right, I'm going to put Nelson's link in the description. Nelson hones these and he does a good job at it, and he's like really the guy doing this like right now. And he has a website and he makes soaps and stuff like that. So go check his stuff out. A couple of people asked me so far, am I going to sell these? No, I'm not going to sell them. Okay, no, I don't sharpen these blades. Everything that needs to be sharpened, I send those people to Nelson. All right. I've shaved the guy's edges. I know he's on point. I have full confidence in everybody there. I don't have the time to hone. And like, you know, it's his thing. He's my friend. I'm not going to get involved in that. It's just not. First of all, honing for other people has never been my thing. And, you know, he's got the experience. He's got the tools. And that's his thing. So I would suggest, heavily suggest, if you're going to get into a Rolls or any of those types of kits, you know, the Wilkinson 7 Days and very possibly even the Darwin or whatever, I'm sure he can handle it and accommodate it and get you set up with a working edge so you can see what it's like to actually use it. I've done 3 of these handles. It still takes me a good amount of time to make one. I'm probably going to make one more. And so, like, why do I need 4 of them? Well, backup is great. And you see, I'm honing. It gets wet when I go to strop. I want to use a dry one. So I need to have at least 2. I figured I have one for like, or a pair of them maybe for travel. I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud. Plus, every time I do it, I like make little tweaks to the process. All right, so, you know, basically, that's good. When I'm working with these things, I never let them sit on the holders. I like to dry stuff off. These points are steel. They will rust. Well, you've seen rusty ones, so you know that, right? So you want to get as much moisture off as possible, as quickly as possible. I actually do run a little bit of an oily cloth over it, just like a paper towel with 1 dot of oil, and I rub it down, and then I'll use a clean one, a clean cloth after that. Just leave a little bit of a smear to help avoid corrosion and what have you. And then, okay, dry this off and put this over here. So I'll check that edge in a minute, but I think I'm okay. And what I want to show you now is the other beauty of the handle, which is the stropping action. Okay. So if I get I got a dry one, put it on. I don't know if you can hear like the screaming outside. I live in Brooklyn, and everyone around here is like, they're like circus people. Okay, they don't know how to behave. Walking down the street screaming is like a regular event with some of these people. So here we go. Blade down. I picked up some moisture here. Even the best plans of mice and men go awry. Anyway, probably from the blade. So I can use any strop, and it works great. And this makes for like perfect stropping. You know, the edges come up great. Right now I have one dedicated strop that I'm watching very carefully. I've stropped a shit ton of times on it and everything is fine. But I was concerned, like this is the smooth one, but the other one with the ear on it, I was wondering if it was going to like harm the strop. And you know, nothing's going on there. It's just working as normal. Because if you think about it, these clips that had that little ear on there, they were in the Rolls case working on leather there too, and like nothing went on, you know. That was detrimental to the leather. The biggest problem with those things is they just got abused and not taken care of, and they dried up, and I think maybe some people just worked them too hard and the blades slapped down too hard on the leather, and they were mounted actually with foam and the foam dried out, so there's that. But anyway, the clip didn't affect that leather, so I don't think it's possible that it would affect this leather. But like everything else, I test. And as you can see here, I have no issue with this. Anyhow, so there you have it. There's my little like Rolls invention. that, might be of interest to some of you. Maybe not. I don't know. I don't think there's a lot of interest in these things because they're not that cool. They're kludgy or whatever. And most people, like, they get them and then they use it once and then you don't hear about it again. You know why? Because they didn't get a good edge. They didn't get a good shave. If they were really working this the way I'm working it and they got that dope edge, they'd be like all the time showing off their like BBS shave of the day photos that's centered on a Rolls blade. So that's how I knew like something had to be done. So I went out and I did it. So anyway, so there's that. Anyhow, there's my little Rolls thing, and a couple people have asked like how you do this. It's a pain in the ass and it's a little dangerous, and you don't really need to do it. But okay, you see how I got like one leg in there? Okay, then I bring the other leg up, it goes into the other hole. So blah blah blah. It's just hanging there, right? See that? And then boom, back in biz. All right. Anyway, there you go. That's the Rolls thing. Listen, summertime. Well, not quite, but it's warm enough. It's like 85 degrees here right now. So it feels. Get out there, have some fun with your family and kids. Go to the beach, go fishing, go do whatever it is you do. When you come home, put some time in on the stone so you get that nice smooth shave. There he goes again, diving into the water. All right, get that nice smooth shave going on, get some honing done. And remember, this is all about fun, so have some fun. Take care. Talk to you soon.